for us today's word, which is renew.
Yeah.
for Sunday, July 23rd, 2023, renewed. I am restored by the Spirit of God within me. Renewal is part of the rhythm of daily life, eating and drinking to nourish and replenish my body, resting to quiet my mind, and sleeping after a day of activity excuse me, are all ways to renew myself. But sometimes those efforts aren't quite enough to sustain me. At times when I feel drained to death, I may need spiritual renewal. God, the one presence and power, is with me always, but it is up to me to keep my awareness of God strong. When I awaken, I say a prayer of blessing for what the day will bring. Throughout the day, I feel God's presence all around me. When I prepare for sleep, I say a prayer of gratitude for all the day has brought. In God, I am renewed moment by moment, day by day. And the Bible verse, we look not at what can be seen, but at what cannot be seen. For what can be seen is temporary, but what cannot be seen is eternal. From 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18.
Bye. Thank you. I mean, she told me she was going to sing that song. I didn't know how beautiful it was going to be and how perfect it was going to be for today. Because it was just all of that. And thank you again. Before I start the message, I just want to take a few minutes because I know a lot of us here are hurting. We lost someone very special recently. Reverend Ben Walker made his transition, and we miss him. And I was fortunate enough to see Ben the day before he left us. He left this earthly form. He's still with us. And the thing that I remember most about that day was that Ben did not speak. He was in a more of a sleeping mode most of the time. Yet when I talked to him and prayed with him and held his hand, he responded. I knew he heard me. I knew he understood what I was saying because he squeezed my hand very firmly, and it was obvious that Ben was still in that form. And so when I left that day, I said to his husband, Carlos, I said, Carlos, I just know. Did not have a shadow of a doubt in my mind. Ben is going to be fine. Now, in my humanness, I assumed that fine was going to be that his physical form was going to recover and he would return to us in that physical form. I was wrong about that, but I was right. And I knew that instinctively that he's fine. He's more than fine. It's us who are not so fine. We will get through this, and he will always be with us. And we will always be so grateful that Ben came to us when he did, how he did. If you haven't heard that story, talk to Betty or Linda Geibel, because it's a great story, because Ben just appeared, basically, out of nowhere. And he was here when we truly needed him. And as much as we miss him, we need to know that he is fine. And so, I think now would be an appropriate time for us to just take a moment and center ourselves and go to that place where we're one with Ben Walker and all that is. So take a couple of deep breaths. And let's just spend a couple of moments communing with the spirit of this wonderful, kind, giving man who has left this physical form and will still be with us always. Thank you, Ben, for all you've given us and for all that you've left us with. We are so grateful for the time that you spent with us, and we know you have touched our lives in such a way that we know we are better humans for it. And we are so very, very grateful. And together we say, Amen. God is all, both invisible and visible, one presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is the perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am an individualized expression of God, and I am never one pleasure of being a band geek when I was in high school. I started playing clarinet when I was in 5th grade, and one of the beauties of that, or if you've sung in a choir, or if you've played in a string instrument, in an orchestra, the power of being part. I mean, I love listening to music, but being part, that little part that when I would practice at home by myself, didn't sound like a whole heck of a lot. But when I got together with a whole group of different instruments, it wasn't just the clarinets, it was the clarinets and the flutes and the oboes and the trumpets and the drums and the trombones and all of these different sounding, different shapes, different materials that they were made of. Yet together, they made some of the most beautiful music. And that's what we're doing in this symphony of life that we are now living. We are all woven together in this beautiful tapestry of humanity. And that's why I call my talk today, my message today, understanding, because the power for the month is understanding, the power for July. And we need to understand not just our connection, but our interconnection. We are not, yes, we are individualized expressions of the one, but what happens to a drop from the ocean if you take it out of the ocean?
Dry up.
Correct.
Oh, no.
It does, it just dries up. So what happens to us as individualized expressions of the one presence and power when we forget and we move away from that divine connection? I think we turn into a little prudish too. I mean, I don't know that we dry up, but boy, I know some people that are moving towards it. So, we are all part of that one presence and power, and it's up to us to recognize that. And that's why we come back here, week after week, day after day. We don't just come on Sunday. We read, we listen, we study, we pray, we meditate. We communicate wordlessly with that presence and power. Just like it said, I mean, that presence and power really knows what it's doing. And it seems to just make all things work together for our highest good. Today, it's, where did it go? Renewed. The Bible verse, 2 Corinthians 4:18. We look not at what can be seen, but at what cannot be seen. For what can be seen is temporary, but what cannot be seen is eternal. And that's, I mean, doesn't that just tell us, I mean, everything we've talked about this morning. Reverend Ben made his transition. He made his transition from his temporary human form, just as we all will, to his eternal spiritual form. What can be seen is temporary, So that connection that we want to make is not, I want to go grab onto this. I want to own this car. I want to own this house. I want to own this person. They're mine. Ever felt that way? I have. I have. I mean, you know, okay, I am a licensed community minister. Goody, goody. I'm really glad I don't have to, take 4 or 5 classes at a time and do all that studying and take all those tests and all that stuff. But I'm no different. I'm no different than you or anybody else. I was at a picnic yesterday and there were several unity ministers there. And I was talking to Cindy Yamamoto, a lot of you know Cindy. I was talking to Cindy Yamamoto and she was saying, people think that now that I'm an ordained unity minister, that somehow I'm further ahead of them on the path. Baloney. Baloney. Nobody's further ahead than anybody else because we're exactly where we're supposed to be. Always. And I was talking to another unity minister yesterday, and he said to me, well, I believe that not only do we leave this plane of existence at the right and perfect time, we enter it at the right and perfect time. He said, somebody will talk to me and they'll say, oh, well, I was born, it was not a unity minister. I met the most delightful woman yesterday. I have no idea how old she is. She's timeless. My guess is just because of her frailty, that she's probably a bit older, like maybe in her 90s. But she's an astrologer. And she has been an astrologer her whole life, basically, because her mother was an astrologer and her grandmother was an astrologer. So she has she has no book training at all. It's all been handed down to her. And she said to me, because she does based on a person's birthday and their time of birth and this, that, and the other, that's a kind of a basis that she starts from. And she said, somebody will say to me, well, yeah, my birthday is August 19th, but I was 2 weeks late. And she says, oh, no, you weren't. No, you weren't. You were born exactly when you were supposed to be born. Exactly. Because the universe, God, that presence and power, whatever name you want to give to it, it doesn't make mistakes. And when we mess up, it just says, okay, we can fix that. Because there are no mistakes. We might look at them as mistakes, but that presence and power says, oh well, let's see, what are we going to do with that? And of course it's not, I use those kinds of terminologies just so that it's more easily understandable, but there's no physical form, no humanoid sitting up in the clouds on a throne rubbing their hands. No, it's an energy. It's an energy that makes us live, makes these human forms live and breathe for the time that they do. It's an energy that continues when this physical form goes back to the dust that it began as. Do you know that we are made of the same thing that stars are made of? Stars. The same composition that is in the stars is in each and every one of you. And when you think about it that way, doesn't that mean something to you? That you are as endless as eternity. You have always been always be. This is a temporary form. So, when the more that we develop our power of understanding, our power for the month of July, the more that we understand that diversity within unity that the song Weave talks about. Because nothing is identical. Snowflakes. There aren't two identical snowflakes. Being identical is not, that's not a biggie for the universe. It's like, why would I want to do that? Why would we want to? Even identical twins are not identical. I have met identical twins that look so much alike, and they think alike, and they talk alike, and all that stuff, and yet, if you get to know them, they are quite different. So, a couple of years ago, speaking of understanding, we worked on our core values. Remember when we did that? And I'd like to talk about them a little bit more because we need to remember the basis of what we, the congregants of Unity East Township, believe. And the 5 core values that you all came up with were love, faith, gratitude, and compassion, because we kind of couldn't separate those, because someone who is grateful is also compassionate, don't you think? Then spiritual and personal growth, and what that leads to, which is transformation, and finally, peace. And we came up with the affirmations to support those beliefs are these. Love. I am an individualized expression of divine love who radiates love to all. I meant to print out some more of these before this morning, and I forgot. So I'm going to do that, and we're going to have these out on the table that our wonderful licensed Unity teacher, Linda Ridley, keeps for us. And if you don't have one of these, or if you've lost it, I really hope that when we put them out there, that you will pick one up and look at these on a regular basis. Faith. My faith remains strong in all situations. All. Not just the easy stuff, the more challenging stuff. The faith remains strong. That's what we affirm. I see beyond appearances to the good that is always present, even in those tough spots. In fact, have you noticed that when we get into a pickle, so to speak, that once we find our way through that and come through that, we can look back and say, yes, it was kind of tough going through it, but I have grown. The more challenging it is, the more we grow. Have you noticed that? Because it's true. Gratitude and compassion. I am grateful for all my many blessings and willingly share these blessings with others. I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to. My daughter has become estranged from her father. And she saw him not too long ago, which will probably be the last time she will ever see him, except she still plans to go when he makes his transition and pay her respects. However, she called me the other day, and she was really, she was crying a lot. And she said, Mom, feel so bad for him. He's so alone because he's pushed everyone away from him. That is his choice. That is the choice that he made. Yet still, my darling, sweet daughter, who he heard time and time again, said, I feel so bad for my dad. And she quit calling Dad about 2-3 years ago. Yet that compassion, that love and compassion, even for the people that we know, you know the one, the one who did it to you, right? The one who hurt you so badly, yet you loved that person so dearly. And whether the hurt came from them leaving this physical form, or a divorce or separation, or an argument with a friend or close family member, or a disagreement over politics or whatever it is, it still hurts. And the love is right there too. You know that, don't you? Spiritual and personal growth leading to transformation. The truths I have come to know through Unity and Unity East have resulted in my growing personally and spiritually. And therefore, I commit to the transformation of my life. One of the things that I've heard from a lot of people at Unity East and other Unity churches, there was representation from Unity churches from all over at that picnic yesterday. And one of the things that I would say the vast majority of all those people and all the people in here have is that transformation. Our lives have been transformed. I know mine has. From what I have learned and put to use the principle. From what I have learned and put to use, my life has been transformed. And peace. I am an instrument of divine peace. Peace has begun with me.
When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me.
There's a lot of stuff going around today, especially here in the United States, about exclusion. And sometimes there are parts of ourselves that we need to explore a little bit deeper. I think, certainly Black African American individuals have gotten way more than their share. And now it seems that the transgender community is a target of a lot of this same type of stuff. And so when I was taking my classes, now I didn't know those first two people personally, and I don't know if you could read what it said, that Alex wrote this: through my birth certificate, though my birth certificate said female, I've always felt like a boy. I kept it inside for many years, spending countless sleepless nights being terrified of what my family and friends would think, and worrying about being rejected at school. I finally transitioned to the man I am today, and when I was 20 years old. Though I have faced discrimination by many people since then, I've also received invaluable support, and that is what keeps me going. I didn't know the young lady either. She is a transgender woman. And she says, that means my birth certificate said male, but I always knew I was a girl. I was so relieved when I told my mom about how I felt, and instead of being mad, she was supportive. And the final gentleman, I hope you noticed the Unity logo behind him. That's Reverend Evan Wilkins. I had him as an instructor for one of my classes. I had no idea that he was transgender. And when I found out, did that change my opinion of him? No, it did not. And then I have a classmate who he will be licensed and ordained in 24 when I go back for my formal ordination. I am licensed, I will be ordained next year. It's a formality. I have all the rights and privileges of a licensed Unity teacher. Not licensed Unity teacher, because I haven't taken those classes. A licensed Unity minister, but I also feel like I am a teacher. And I found out that my friend Micah is a transgender man. And I'm like, holy smokes, I never knew that. He's bald. He's got a beard. And he's married to a woman. And I had no idea. So Micah and I talk about once a month, we do a Zoom call, because we become very good friends. And one time I said, Micah, I just gotta ask you, I'll be honest, I just don't totally get this whole transgender thing. And so he talked to me so openly and freely, and it was just wonderful. And we get on a lot of Zoom calls, and he said to me, well, one thing, I got getting on my transgender bandwagon a little bit, he says, what I'd really like to see you do is on your Zoom, you put your pronouns. I'm like, okay, easy enough to do. So, if you get on any Zoom calls and you feel like being an ally to this community, you might want to put your pronouns. Up to you. But because the final value that we hold so dearly is peace, I have to tell you about this book. It's called The Anatomy of Peace, Resolving the Heart of Conflict, and I have to thank Joe Bennett for telling me about it. And I'm trying to talk Joe, well, I don't think I've actually already talked Joe into leading a book study group. And I really think Joe is already leading a book study group outside of Unity East, but I thought we could use a book for those that no obligation. In fact, honestly, I'd really like to limit it to about 12 people so that we can have some really good interaction. But this, well, if you look at all my little tabs, and it's just one of the most profound and helpful books that I've ever read. And one of the things I like about it is a lot of the books that I read are educational and not necessarily entertaining. This is written like a story, which really you get involved with the characters in the story and what's going on in their lives and all this stuff, and it ties it all together. It's awesome! So we're hopefully maybe September timeframe after all the fun stuff. Summer is over with.
Who's the author?
The author, because there are other ones, it's the Arbinger Institute, Arbinger. Highly, highly, highly recommend this book. And I know I recommend a lot of books, but this one is right up there at the top of the list, folks. I mean, seriously. So, there's a whole lot more that I could say, but you know, it's getting late and we have more stuff that we gotta do this fun. So just remember, understanding not just the people out there that we meet, but that understanding begins where? Right here. So if you find, when we find ourselves, because it happens, we find ourselves in a situation where somebody is doing something and we just don't handle it well. I've been there, I've done that many times. And I'm not immune to it just because I'm a licensed unity minister. Perfection ain't my thing, so don't expect it of me. But when we find ourselves in one of those situations where we're reacting in a way that we're not very proud of, those are the times that we have to look in the mirror, look inside and say, okay, Anita, what was that all about? What's in there that caused you to react in a way that you don't really want to be? That's not who I want to be. That's an opportunity. That's a growth opportunity. Remember, I think that for me, what it's been is I went from having problems to having challenges, and now those very same things are growth opportunities. So that's where we're never going to run out of them. We're never going to run out of them until the day we make our transition. We will have growth opportunities to face. And the more we grow in understanding that presence and power that lives in and through us, the more that we will be interconnected to ourselves and every other person, being, entity in the universe. Namaste. So now what I'd like to do is take this message with us into meditation. And I know I've given you a lot to think about. So whatever is kind of hitting you at the core, hitting you where you know this is something, this was for me. this is what I needed today. So you take what was meant for you with you into meditation. So let's just center ourselves. Take a couple of deep breaths. And feel that presence and power just filling us. Feel that light, that love, that glow that we know is more than this physical form. And let's just hold that for a few moments and commune. Listen, feel that presence and power. Divine Spirit, we know, we feel the love, we feel the energy, we feel the presence, and we're so grateful that we know this feeling and this presence and this love and this power is there for us anytime, all the time. And together, we would like to sing and share the Lord's Prayer.
Hallowed be
please remember that circle of life and that giving is part of receiving. And so it's on the back of the envelope is written out of prayer. So let's say this together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give joyfully and easily, for the universe is my source, and abundance is my nature.
First sign-up sheet for our September 14th Thursday World Day of Prayer that Linda Ridley has put together. It's on this table by the book corner. There's also being a One Accord sign up there. If you have any questions about that, you can ask Linda Ridley. Some of us have signed up for that. It's a sub-regional meeting at Royal Oak.
Light of God.